Hi, welcome. My name is Elliot, and I'm just like you. I'm making this video because my heart tells me to. There's a bunch of things that I want to tell people, a bunch of things that I know, and so I think this video is going to start off really general, as a kind of introduction to maybe spirituality, maybe an introduction to what's going on in the world right now, kind of behind the scenes, but the curtains are being pulled. It could also be an introduction to what you've heard of as Ascension, or whatever that is, right? And who am I to say anything about anything like that? Well, I kind of open with it. I'm just like you. I'm just like you in that I've lived this life. I've lived others. Probably just like you. Although there are some new souls. You know what? And that have lived lives just not like these. I'm just me. And so take what resonates. If you're listening to this, then you know we're already resonating at a certain level, so as to be attracted to each other's vibrations. I'm hard to listen to. What I mean is, I don't know, don't feel bad if you have a hard time making it through my videos. I'm super confrontational with myself, and because you're just like me, that's how I communicate. So if you can get through this video, other videos, through the end, and really examine yourself for the you that you find in them, like, high five, all of the high fives, because it's not easy. This process. This ascension process. What is ascension? That sounds like some kind of crazy, culty, new agey, video gamey. It's all of those things. It's all of those things because, and maybe we can kind of continue here. Like, consider that most of what you've been told about yourself and about life and about your existence has been an intentional manipulation of information. Imagine, if you will, that there were powers, just like we could say people, just beings, units of consciousness that got power from manipulating other people. So it created systems to do that, so it would get power, and we've been victims of those systems. So it's not crazy. It's not conspiracy theory. It's food. We've been lied to a great deal about ourselves because that was how we could be used. Does that make sense? Right? It's like doesn't have to be so crazy. So this ascension process is actually the kind of universal mechanism for evolution. What it can be helpful to regard as spiritual evolution, because, and why I say spiritual is because with spirit there's a connotation that can be useful that implies a non-physicality, because part of the illusion that has been impressed upon us is that of exclusive a physicality. We are, we are what we can prove. We are what we can see. We aren't anything else. And even the kind of the strivings of and the best efforts of kind of religious orders have been very much manipulated and convoluted so as to distort the truth, because the best lie is the one that kind of skirts the truth, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. I was like trying to think of a stupid example, like my hair is blue. It's hard to believe, but like my hair is so dark, it's a tint of blue. Like, I guess, I don't know, people's eyes are different, you know. It's like, just add elements of the truth and change one thing, it becomes a lie. 98% of the truth is a lie, and that's very much how we've been manipulated, because we're smart, and our souls have like we ring with the truth. Like, you know, when you like kind of do it like a, here, so I got it on here. It's like glass, and you're like, and then the other glasses might start singing with it. Or when you strum the string instrument, and then anything that kind of vibration kind of picks it up and is like, oh yeah, I recognize that. We're like that. Very literally, we're like antennas, and we're antennas, and we receive, and we also transmit. And all it takes is for us to be put off just a little bit, and then off a little bit is not ourselves. So lesson 1, in short, is that we've been very much manipulated to meet other people, to meet other things, meet other beings' ends. Fair? Okay. Now, what's happening in the world, in our world, on our planet, is liberation, emancipation. It's the rediscovery of our truth, because it's like with that same ringing of the truth, we recognize it when it's there. Enough of us over enough time striven and reached for and worked together to create windows into the truth that cannot be closed. And those windows have existed long enough and been passed on and pointed to, and so much so that us now are arriving at a time where not only do we see the windows, we see through the windows, we are opening the windows, and we're letting fresh air in. And that fresh air, it's almost like we're letting ourselves, our truth, in. I'm going to touch on a few things, and then I'm going to make videos on all the little different topics. So the next thing that you might have come across and that might have drawn you to this video is seeing numbers. Seeing lots of numbers, feeling crazy, seeing numbers and feeling crazy because you're seeing numbers. You're not seeing numbers, you just feel crazy and you want to know what's going on. What you're starting to see is the truth. Put very simply, we, in our consciousness and in like our physicality, are reflections of the universe. You may have heard of as above, but as below, but as above, as it is above, is below. As above, below. Fuck. Above as it is below, and vice versa. Said in another way, put in another way, the universe, as it can be perceived at our level of perception, is holographic. So what that means, like in a hologram, if you take you got a sheet of a hologram and it has an image, like hologram, and then you take that hologram and you smash it, and so then all you're left with is like, and you take a little piece of it. It's like a little piece. That little piece, if you look into it, it's gonna be like, it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be that same kind of image. Any part of any part of the whole contains the whole. As above as it is below. Inside, outside, within, without. So, when you start seeing numbers and really what's happening is you're starting to see patterns. You're starting to notice a deeper meaning. Noticing symbols. Noticing sequences. You're starting to relate to how something connects to another thing. And what's confusing about it is that we've been told that not everything is connected. Cause and effect, and some things there's just no correlation. Like that statistic in in Bavaria, they eat a lot of chocolate, and they also don't have a lot of crime or something like that. I'm making this up. It's but it's the statistic, something like that. I'm more using it because it's an example of what people would call correlation. It's like, just because they eat a lot of hamburgers or chocolate here and they have this statistic doesn't mean that if you eat a lot of chocolate you're not going to get hamburgered. When the truth is that yes, no, actually you can. Nothing is disconnected. So when you start to see numbers, you're starting to see how one connects to one and turns into one, and with another one it becomes something else that's still one but more than one. If it doesn't make sense, you're on the right path, because Ascension is about grasping. It's about lifting oneself up into something that one isn't yet, but can foresee, can forefeel, can foreknow. It's climbing up the ladder towards your goal, and every step higher furthers the goal. So satisfaction and contentment arrives not from achieving the goal, it arrives from being. Being one that climbs. Another thing that, and then maybe I'll end with this, and then I'll start to make some more specific videos, is frequency, sound, light, electromagnetism. All of these are not only grossly misunderstood by the world, but like great lengths have gone to the manipulation of that information so as to not understand. So let me break it down really succinctly in a way. Just like pattern recognition is everything is connected, what you can also appreciate is that everything in this universe, everything in physicality is connected to everything else. So what popular science is starting to and having to arrive at is the existence of what we're calling the ether. And what that is that in space there's no vacuum. In the world there's no empty space. There's no empty space between myself and the computer. It is completely filled with a subtle form of energy, and this we're calling ether. It's called ether. It's called scalar energy. It's been called 0-point energy. It's been called orgone energy. It's been called chi, prana, all that stuff. Okay, so we'll call it the medium. Like this glass is water, the medium is water. Everything in the glass exists in connection to each other, but is in the medium of the water. And I'm trying to say this without being too confusing. You know what, I'll just say this much. For anything to get from one point to another in the medium, it doesn't travel, like it doesn't as from point A to point B in the way that we assume. Like light doesn't travel across space as much. So like you know what, keep it simple. If I am here and you are here inside the water, when I say something, can you imagine sound waves in the water kind of rippling outwards towards you? That is how everything travels or exists in the medium that is the universe. Light, sound are the same thing. They are perturbations of the medium that is the fabric of the universe. That was just to tickle your brain. And then much more simply, if everything in this way, everything is a perturbation is a vibration, then everything vibrates. And when you vibrate at a certain rate, it affects the speed at which you travel. It affects what can make you vibrate, what can change your vibration. It affects the different vibrations that you can talk to. For instance, your Wi-Fi. Do you know what that is? It's radio signals. Part of the like fuck you, stay confused is calling it Wi-Fi and not just being like wireless internet uses radio signals. So these radio signals travel through space and become this information, which makes it sound all kind of magical or whatever, but it's really just these radio waves. That's light, by the way. Carry information, and then it's received by a transducer. In the case of our computers, it's like the modem or like the network card. In the case of our eyes, in the case of our bodies, visible light, it's our eyes, and the mechanisms of our ears. Those are what converts the light information into consciousness. So everything is frequency. Everything is vibration. And we are harmonious in that we exist upon different bands of frequency. And depending on your frequency, which can be mitigated by consciousness, that will affect who and what vibrates with you. I might mention this in every video. I might not. I don't and won't ever put things in such a way that, like information, lessons, or anything like that, in such a way that make you think you know what I am talking about right away. Because you don't. I'm pretty good at some things, and that I'm pretty good at a lot of things. But that took a lot of time and a lot of practice, because the way that my nervous system is, the way that I'm kind of made up is I don't do anything from memory. I do everything like it's the first time. And if I may suggest that you start almost considering that that's also what you do when you're really being yourself. put it together. My teachings are not for everyone. At the same time, so thank you for taking the time for yourself to inquire and research and make connections. You're on the right track. Keep going. And when you don't understand, don't let that be the end. Let that be the next rung that you're climbing up of. Because when you think you understand everything, you're fucked. Straight up. Because you're just totally not going to be aware of that next time with that thing you thought you understood and you close the book on, totally blindsides you. So keep your books open. Keep adding lines, chapters, and pages. I love you. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you soon. Namaste.